Okay, hi, and welcome to Hexodus, and welcome to episode 2, where we discuss the nature of God and our flavor of spirituality. So, welcome from Persephone.
And welcome from Jenny. Excited to discuss this.
So, yeah, and so we have our sacrament to start. Would you like to start with your sacrament?
Sure. So for sacrament, we also pulled cards, and the card that I pulled was healing energy. And I just love this idea of the sacrament providing healing energy. It's definitely needed right now just to kind of clear out the old energy that's not serving. And so I have for my quote unquote bread I gotta see what it's called, a mocha latte pretzel from Trader Joe's. And just, coffee's supposed to be forbidden, but mocha latte just sounded delicious and definitely helps to heal.
Oh, yes. I love it.
And what's your bread?
Okay, I guess I'm coming in with my little prayer too, my little card. So I drew the Overcoming Difficulties card. The worst is now behind you, and you're surmounting previous challenges. And this is a lovely card to get today for me because, like I was telling Jenny, I'm a little heavy today, so my energy's not quite maybe as buoyant as usual. But I hit a 3-year anniversary yesterday of my partner passing away unexpectedly. And so like I'm in an excellent place in life. It's good. I'm feeling some heavy energy, but I love that I got that card. It feels like comforting and nice, and I'm just like grateful for it. And so for my bread for sacrament, I got popcorn, which I like because it is like every weekend or every Sunday we would go to my grandparents' house growing up when we lived close, and we would have popcorn and Pepsi and watch TV and play with cousins, and it was like so comforting. And I hadn't even drawn that card yet, but I was like, I need like comforting sacrament today, so popcorn it is.
I love that.
Thanks.
Oh, well,
Oh,
sending healing energy and the ability to overcome difficulties to us both. That,
yes.
yes,
Nice.
love it. Okay, so for my water, it is literally water. However, it is water that was blessed, and that's not the word I'm looking for, not blessed, but um set with manifestations, set with intentions.
Aw.
There's a big, beautiful full moon. It was like a harvest blood moon, super moon on Wednesday. So I watched a video that my friend recorded here in Portland, and it's just kind of setting intentions in your water. And actually, some of the intentions I set for my water was healing. And then I
Aw.
let it sit in the moonlight that night to get that moon energy. So it is, yes, it's boring water, but it's also a special water. So
Aw.
I'm
That's
in that.
beautiful.
Yeah, thanks. It was really cool just to kind of imbue the water with those intentions that I wanted. So
I
that is
love
my
it. Nice.
my literal water.
Oh, that's beautiful. For my water, I'm continuing the theme of comfort, and I just have a little oat milk in there because, like, what's more comforting than like oat milk? So come on, it's soft and smooth and sweet and nice.
Oh, good choice.
Very nice. Now I wish I had like cookies, but that's okay.
Next time, next
That's
sacrament.
right. So today we kind of wanted to talk about the flavor of our spirituality and what spirituality is to us, because when people say spirituality, it can mean so many different things, and it's so different for every person. Um, when you're an ex-Mormon, you get lots of questions like, well, what do you believe, or what do you think about God? Or, and you have to kind of spend a lot of time thinking, well, what do I think about that? And so today we're going to talk about our beliefs about it. But I'm sure Jenny and I are on the same page too, that if we have different beliefs than you, we're not here to say your beliefs are wrong or bad. Even though we're ex-Mormons, and even if you're Mormon, we're still not saying that either. So I want this to be a place where like your beliefs are your beliefs, and then you should own them. And so yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I completely agree. It's important to find a belief system for you that works and that uplifts you. Um, and I feel like this is just, I think, my experience with Mormonism and ex-Mormonism. It seems like people, when they leave that belief system, have a tendency to swing the other way completely with their beliefs and go like to atheism. And I know that's what I did when I
Mhm.
left Mormonism. It was just, this belief system that claimed to be an all or nothing. It's true or it's not. And
Mhm.
so in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's not. So I rejected spirituality for a long time because you're kind of trained in Mormonism to believe that it's all one and the same. Um, and you don't have that ability to kind of find your own spirituality and what works for you.
Yeah.
So,
I do. I think that's like a really good point too. And I think that's like, and also we need to have grace for that process because I think it is normal and healthy to swing like maybe all the way, or do you know what I mean? When you leave a high demand religion, it can be extremely empowering to be like, no, that doesn't make logical sense. No, I'm not going to believe in anything that's not provable. Like that's like a personal power healing thing too. But like in real life, it's a little more like middle, like things should be provable, they should be logical, but there's also like mystery in this world. And just like, so there's kind of both. I always feel like the thing that I struggle with sometimes or that makes me tired is when people are just like, well, that's not real. But like, well, I think about so many things like reading a fiction book. Like I love fiction. I write fiction. It's just super important to me. I love movies. I love books. I love all that stuff. And like no one is going to be sitting over my shoulder being like Jane Eyre isn't real. But like I'm
yeah.
getting so much from Jane Eyre. Like I don't care if it's real or not. Like I'm getting something that's very meaningful to me. And I feel like that's how I feel about my spirituality a lot. It's like not so much like beliefs or facts or even fantasy necessarily, but it's like metaphor that I can learn from to connect with myself, you know.
Yeah, and that is so important to have that freedom and that trust in yourself to connect in your with yourself,
Mhm.
that inner soul piece. And for me, like that's where I feel like my concept of God comes from, my concept of spirituality. I really struggle with this idea of like man-made spirituality. To me,
Mhm.
I feel like the big difference between spirituality and religion is that man-made component. It is the patriarchy saying, okay, this is what you need to believe, and this is how you get to heaven, or you're going to hell. It's fear-based.
Mhm.
um, and that's my perception, and that's just my belief. And I feel like spirituality is that internal component, that intuition, that belief that you know what's right for you, that
Mhm.
belief that you can find your truth, and that will lead you to your highest good, that will lead you where you need to go, and that will help you reach that potential that you have.
Mhm. I think I totally agree with that. And I think that's why being this kind of spirituality seems to be such a threat to like, it's why they call people like us witches or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like use
Hmm.
problematic stuff is because when you're in your own power, you're just going to believe what you believe in an authentic way. And it may or may not line up. For some people, it is inside religion where they belong and where they do best. For some people, it's not, but it's going to be different for each person. And a system that's set up with like a one size fits all is definitely not going to like this, you know? And so,
Absolutely.
yeah. And
Yeah,
so,
it doesn't give that. Oh, sorry.
no, go on. I want to hear.
No, I was gonna it doesn't give that grayscale where we all reside in. Growing up, I think Mormonism, you're kind of raised with this belief of an all or nothing, a black and white.
Yeah.
There's just this two-sidedness to it, and that's not how life is. Life is just this full spectrum of colors, and
Yeah.
you can't boil it down to this or that. It is so much bigger than that. And when you try to take something down to that level of something so simplistic, it just doesn't work. It creates so
Absolutely.
much disharmony. It creates so much anger. I feel like that's where a lot of the struggles come with today is we've been kind of conditioned to see life in that black and white way.
Yeah.
And we forget to have grace and hold space for those outside of that realm. Like we need to remember that we all exist somewhere on this spectrum,
Yes.
and it's so important to have grace for those that aren't the same color as us or the same
Right.
flavor is us.
Exactly. And I think too, like we were trained that life was either or, but really life is one big and. And so like that's just
Absolutely.
how it is. It cannot be simplified down to like this or that because so much is true at the same time. So I guess I'm looking at our little notes over here. The first thing we have there is like, what is God? Simple, easy little question. you know?
Yes. So easy.
Yeah. So I
um,
guess so Denny, what do you think about like what are your opinions about what God at this point? Yeah.
for me, I don't agree with this traditional concept of God. I don't agree that God is some man in the sky with a long flowing white beard and a long robe and who has this, all knowing, all seeing power. I feel like that is too simplistic to define what God is. I feel like God is that universal energy that flows through us all. It's that universal energy that connects us not only to this earth, but to the universe, to those unknown elements that we haven't experienced or that we don't know. There's an energy that flows through us all. And to me, that is God. That is that belief. Well, for me, that's that belief of how we're all connected. It's not something I feel like that we can visualize or that we have the ability to visualize or maybe understand, but it's just to boil it down to that simple answer. It's just that energy that connects us all, that makes us who we are, that matter.
That's
How about you, Persephone?
I would say that's very similar to what I believe too. So yeah, I understand that. I think since all matter is just energy, and if we're all a kind of energy or energy structure, then that energy or energy structure is God, I guess. Um, and is everything. I think everything is God, I guess. Like I don't like my water bottle, my cards, my oat milk I just drink. I guess I think everything
Yeah.
is because we're all part of the same kind of thing. So I don't believe in like God like in the religious way anymore. I in that way I would say I'm atheist, but I would say I'm agnostic in that I think that whatever it is, the thing that we are is God, and that it's like way past our little brains understanding. And so like an unknowable thing that everything is.
Yeah,
So in
absolutely.
that way I believe in God, but like it's not necessarily it's just like all the thing that we are. But
Yeah.
like,
I
I'm
I
not sure of words.
it is. It really is. Yeah, like on one thing I've experienced, I have some sisters that are still religious. Um, but like I've been able to have some really good conversations with them
Nice.
about beliefs. And one thing that I've realized with one of my sisters is, or even both of my sisters, is how we have the same beliefs, we just have different words for our
Yes.
beliefs.
Yeah.
Um, we still believe in this concept of good and evil. It's just what they think is evil. It might be have different words than what I think is evil, but
Yeah.
it's same base concepts, just different words to explain it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And probably a lot of us have similar motives in life or wanting to do the right thing or wanting to be good, but probably right thing just means different things. And you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Like, yeah, this concept of God, they have their belief in God. I have my belief in God. And while we have different words to describe it, it's still there, this belief in God. I might not call it God,
mhm.
but
Yeah.
that belief is still there. And so I think that like kind of that's where it's good to kind of define your spirituality. So coming back to our other question, how would you define your flavor of spirituality, Persephone?
Um, I think I said it in the last episode too that I feel like I'm a mystical atheist. And like I feel like that for like a few reasons because I am just mystical by nature. I feel like I have a lot of like clair in me, like clairvoyance
Yeah.
and intuition and stuff. I feel like it's my brand of kind of neurospiciness, I guess. Um, so I am just mystical by nature, but I don't necessarily like want to have any kind of beliefs about it or to have to like, I don't know. It's a little hard for me to even like explain, but like I find great liberty in the phrase I don't know. I think ever since I left the church, I
Yes.
just like I don't know how to explain the pleasure of saying like I don't know. And I feel like for me, I don't necessarily have to know the answers or any big thing. I just want to like live my good life here and now. And if my spirituality helps me do that so I can tap into myself and know what I want, then that is where I am.
I love that.
Okay. I don't know if I even explained that okay, but
Oh, I think that is so important, and that's like so powerful. Like there is so much power in I don't know. When you claim to have all of the answers, or when you claim to know everything, you're doing yourself like a huge disservice to yourself, because you're not allowing any opportunities for growth or change. You're not allowing any opportunities to learn about other people and their experience. And I think that's like a big part of spirituality. It's here to learn, it's here to grow. We're here to learn,
yes.
we're here to grow, and we're here to find out how to just be better, improve ourselves, so that
Yeah.
we can improve our surroundings and improve those that we come in contact with, just by being a good example, or just by, maybe that's not the word I want to use, but just being, raising the vibrations, just making sure that we are getting in touch with our spirituality, that higher self that knows best, that
Yeah.
can, God, I feel like words are failing me right now.
Like maybe being in our like authentic self or our authentic energy or
Yes.
and trying to yeah.
Yes. No, that's absolutely it. It's that being authentic, because there's so much power in being authentic and owning that authenticity, and not letting someone else take that away from you. Um,
Mhm.
that is
And
so important.
that's also a lifetime journey because every human is so nuanced. I feel like we're always learning and always changing. Like who we are authentically might just be different all the time, but might not. Like who knows, you know?
Absolutely. And that's like where, yeah, I feel like it ties back into that spectrum, rather than things being black and white. We need to have that gray area to exist in.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you feel like is your flavor of spirituality?
For me, I feel like my flavor of spirituality is like a witchy element to it. I definitely have the skeptic brain. I worked in the scientific field for years, where a lot of it was based on, we need to have these facts before we can believe something. And I definitely had that mindset for a long time, and I still have that skeptic mindset. But when I finally just kind of started embracing my spirituality and realizing, no, that there's absolutely something more to this, life just seemed to flow better. I also feel like there's a star seed component. So to that, my the brand that I feel like I've been pursuing on my spiritual path is Starseed Witch. And for those who don't know what Starseed is, it's something that I didn't know about until the last couple of years. But there's this idea that star seeds are people here on Earth who have, you know, traveled or existed on other planes of existence, other elements, and they're just kind of tied together. I'm not explaining star seeds very well, so forgive me, but they're kind of, you know, more in tune with that universal element of what connects us, of that energy. And I'm feeling that now, like just the flow of energy and getting in touch with that energy that connects us all, but also this witchy component. I have no doubt that in like another life, in another time, in another dimension, I was that crone in the woods who was mixing up the potions and the healing tinctures and all of that stuff, and, you know, was one of those ladies who was kind of outcast from society for following an authentic path.
Mm.
I see that in my own family these days. I'm the youngest of 8 children, and everyone is married and has kids except for me. Everyone has their own families, and even now, like nieces and nephews are starting to get married and have their own kids. And I'm just sitting here living my best life with my 2 cats. And I love it. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So I feel like, yeah, my brand of spirituality, my flavor of spirituality is that starseed witch of just finding that universal energy and that witchy vibe of it's okay to be that
I
single lady
love
that roam in
that.
the woods.
I feel like you have all kinds of layers of like power in like the way you live your life and who you are. Like all the things that society disparages, like using witch as a negative word because they know that like that's people in their power, like the childless cat lady, because that's women in in their power. Like you can be have
Yes,
children and be in your power, and you know what I mean. Like you can be any kind of woman and have that, but they're disparaging a certain kind of personal power in a woman and like by using a negative phrase and like you're all these layers of like what society, especially Mormon society too, like disparages, but like that's you and your power, and like that's probably why they disparage it. You know.
absolutely. There's
So, yeah.
nothing scarier than a woman claiming her power and thinking for herself.
Yeah. That's what I think. In my opinion, what patriarchy is, like, I know the standard definition, like, you know, power transferred through men or whatever, but I think the root of what patriarchy is fear of women's power. So I think it's like a fear-based
Absolutely.
power structure designed to keep women down so that the men can stay in power. Whereas like matriarchal structures are less about like power keeping and more like about making sure people get their needs met. And I'm not saying all women are great and I'm not saying like all that stuff, but like patriarchy itself, the energy behind patriarchy is the fear of women's power. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's yeah, that's why it's so important to have the balance of like the masculine and the feminine.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
We all need both. Yeah. Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, we need
Mhm.
both. And
Yeah.
just what we see what happens when only one has the power and it's
Yeah.
not
It makes everything
that's
off
good.
balance. It hurts women, it hurts men, it hurts everybody. So, but keeping it in
Yes,
balance helps everybody. So, yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm. Okay, so let's see. So, what is your spiritual history?
Okay. Oh, spiritual history. I feel like, well, I am relatively new to claiming my spiritual power, or coming and getting in touch with my spirituality. Um, as I mentioned, I rejected religion or spirituality for a long time because of religion, and I thought they were interconnected, and they're not. But my spiritual history really kicked off in the summer of 2022, and it is thanks to you that I really kicked off my
Oh.
my spiritual journey. I took some time off work for mental health. I was just burned out and was not loving life. Not that it was bad, it was just not where I wanted to be. So I started working with you, Persephone, and Reiki healing, and that really got me in touch with my spirituality. And so it was January 2023, I became certified in Reiki through you. um, and that just kind of kicked it off. Like I it's crazy to look back and see how far I've come in just a short, you know, short 2 years
Yeah, that's
from being,
fast. Yeah.
yeah, like being in Utah and then realizing, nope, this is not for me, and moving to Oregon because I just needed that change and realizing that that's okay to step away from the comfort and the known and following that spiritual path that just feels authentic to me. I feel like I could just go on forever about it and trying to keep it short and somewhat sweet, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to boil down to something
Mm.
quick and easy, you know. How would you describe your spiritual history?
I mean, I will definitely say it's also too big for like a quippy thing, but yeah. And also, I'm super grateful I got to be part of yours. Like, that's amazing. I love it.
Mm.
I think mine, like my parents were converts to the church and they were living difficult lives and the church gave them like structure and stability and um, helped my dad get his education and helped our family a lot. So like, and that way, like the church was like helpful and gave my family like a spiritual language and foundation and stuff. But then it also like caused pain and trouble too. where it was misaligned or misused. Um, and I guess I, started having questions about it when I was 15, did not go over well with, you know, the people in my life.
Yep.
And so I don't know, I've always been kind of like a spiritual person and a spiritual seeker. And I was like excited about like learning different ways of thinking about things and all that. But like I wasn't really given the space or, ability to do that. And so when I had kids, I was just like, well, if the church is true, like I was told, then I better just self-obliterate into it for the good of my kid, and so that's when I kind of like tumbled into Mormonism. But it was 2013 I started learning energy work. Like I was already a Reiki master, but I didn't use it. I started learning like emotion code or something, and it's like I opened Pandora's box, and so
Mm.
everything started like I didn't even do it. It was maybe like not even a full year that I started doing energy work that I ended up like leaving the church and then ended up getting out of my bad marriage. And then, you know, just like everything just boom, boom, boom. And so it's definitely been an 11-year journey, odyssey for sure. And boy, has my life changed in every single way that is possible. So there we are.
Yeah.
That's as nutshell as I can like say. It's such a big
Yeah.
thing.
It is hard to just, yeah, boil it down to something that's just so quick and easy because it's so, oh, there's so many elements to it. And
Yeah.
there's, yeah, so much history there,
And
that
there's
it is.
not a part of your life that it doesn't touch. Like every single part of your life it touches. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, and I feel like this might be a good thing to, like, dive into more maybe on the next episode is, like, go in depth in our spiritual histories because I feel like there's so much that I
Yes.
want to talk about and, like, especially with you,
Yes.
and get into our experiences more, but that
I
would be
would
fun to
love
do.
that. I would love to hear how you Mormoned and like compared with how I Mormoned. I would love to hear how you felt when I'm remembering those days when we met at the post-Mormon place, like how freeing that felt and but also
Yes.
scary and unfamiliar, like all of that stuff. So
Yes.
that would be really fun to like talk about those days where we're just like, how do you even order coffee? Or am I singing right now? Or
Right? Yeah, just deconstructing that belief system of, "That's bad because I was told it was bad my entire life." Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. And
Oh,
then also just like all the things that you think about too, like, oh, if the church isn't true, then what is true, or is anything true? And how can I heal myself out of church using like spirituality? That seems, counterintuitive. And like there's just like a lot to it.
there is a lot to unpack there. Yeah, and I feel like we would need a whole different
Yes.
whole
We're gonna
different
do
yes,
lots of episodes on this.
yes,
Yes.
yes, that sounds good. Well, I feel like that is, like, a good point to end on and maybe segue into the next episode is diving a little bit more into our spiritual histories.
Great. I love it. Love it. Okay. Well, thank you
Alright.
so much, Jenny. And thank you to you guys who are watching. Go ahead and subscribe and go ahead and comment if there's things you would like us to talk about. We'd love to hear from you
Yes.
and have a great week.
Thank you for
Okay.
thank you for joining us. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.